Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. Recently I had a client ask if I could convert a TV radio cabinet into a liquor cabinet. This is a 1950 Admiral model 26X76. I will walk you through step by step on how I went from this to this. I hope you enjoy the video. If you have not already, please like the channel and subscribe. So let's get started. I did some research on the TV cabinet I got when I first received it. Online, this is what I found. This is what it originally looked like. So, this is the shape I got the cabinet in. It wasn't bad. The original owner was my client's father. He tried to make it into a mini bar himself years ago. He put a piece of wood with shelf paper. He did drill holes in the side and put angle in to hold the shelves. So I'm gonna have to take it apart. I'm gonna repair it. Some of the issues this cabinet has are the holes I explained to you. It also has some deep gouges and scratches in it, which will have to be repaired. As you see right now, the original cabinet had a TV on top and a speaker on the bottom, had no shelves. So I'm going to fabricate new shelves. The doors were in really good shape. The client asked me not to make any changes to the doors. So when I sand and stain, I'm going to have to try to match the stain of the doors. The back of this unit still has the original back panel. There's an upper for the TV and a lower for the speaker. So I'll have to put a whole new back panel on it. The really neat thing is it still has the original model number and sticker inside. So this is how I was able to do some research and find the image I showed you earlier inside. As you see, these are the holes that go all the way through. Now I also found out the left side, the whole side is cracked and then coming off, and it's completely loose. So I will have to re-glue this to repair it, then I can start building. The damage to that left side is only at the bottom, so the repair is pretty easy. I'm able to separate it, add some glue, and I'll add clamps, then I'll wait till the glue to dry. The next thing to do is to add the supports for the shelves I'm making. I'm going to rip them down to the correct height, then I'll cut them down to the correct length. For the shelves, I'm going to use 1/2-inch birch plywood. So I'm going to rip them down to size, and then I'll sand it down and start staining. On the bottom of the cabinet, where the speaker was, there was a grid. All four corners of the grid has a circular pattern on it, which I wanted to keep. The center of the grid I did not want to keep, so here I'm just going to cut the center out, then I'll sand it nice and smooth. Next thing I did was just dry fit everything. Everything's fitting nice, so it's time to start staining the shelves. So the original shelves has a very, very dark grain. So I wanted to bring out the grain as much as possible. So I used a black stain. I'm going to stain the whole entire surface. I'm going to let it dry, then I'll sand it down. After sanding it down, I'm going to stain the piece. That should bring out the grain, make it nice and dark, and hopefully match the existing stain. After the stain was dry, I did add a coat of polyurethane, let that dry, so I can see how well it matched up with the rest of the piece. The shelves turned out perfect. They matched really well. Knowing this, It's now time to sand the whole piece down and get it ready for staining. Sanding the piece, I didn't want to sand too much down, but I needed to take out all the scratches. While sanding, I made sure I kept some of the sawdust, and I'll show you why later. Once the top was sanded down, it was time to work on the sides. And if you remember, I told you there was several holes on the side. So I used wood filler to fill in the holes, but not all the way. And I'll show you why in a little bit. With the wood filler drying, I moved on to the supports for the shelves. I'm going to use pocket hole screws to hold everything in place. So this is going to be used as a liquor cabinet, so I added extra supports for the middle and also the ends to make it as strong as possible to hold the bottles of liquor. Using wood glue and pocket screws, I secured and lined up the supports. On the other side of the support, I was able to use a finish nailer. I repeated the same steps on the other side before I added the cross brace. With my side supports in, I clamped the middle brace, glued, and used pocket screws to hold that. For the bottom braces, I ripped the boards to match the existing lip, then I secured it the same exact way using glue and pocket screws. With the shelves done, and the wood filler I applied to the side holes was dry, it was time to completely sand down the outside. I used a palm sander for all the flat pieces, and I hand sanded all the trim pieces. With all the sanding done, everywhere I had to do a patch, I wanted to make sure the stain was going to match, so I kept my sawdust from all the sanding. I made sure the patch was under the surface of the material. I applied wood glue, then I put the sawdust down and let it dry. Once the glue is dry, I will sand it, and I will repeat the process until I'm happy with how smooth it is to the surface. After sanding, I apply the stain the exact same way I did for the shelving, minus the black stain. The grain already came out on what was already stained, the old material, so all I had to do was apply the stain normally. To make the wine glass holder, I have a 1/2 inch by 3 inch piece of poplar. I'm going to taper each end, leaving the center approximately 3/4 of an inch flat. I'm also going to take one of these, rip it down directly in the middle. This will serve as my beginning and my end of my wine glass holders. The next part of the wine glass holder, I'm going to take a 1x2 piece of poplar. I'm going to rip it down so it'll be 3/4 by 1 inch. Once I have all those pieces cut, I'm going to cut everything to size. Next thing to do is to glue and clamp all these pieces together. What I'm doing here is one of the end caps I explained earlier. That'll be the start or finish for the wine holder. With everything glued and clamped, I'm going to set it aside to dry. To attach the wine rack, I'm going to attach it to the bottom brace of the middle shelf. So I have it set in place. I'm using playing cards to space it off the front, and I'm going to mark where every brace is Once I have all the pieces marked, I will pre-drill, and then I'll drive a screw through from the wine holder into the braces. With the wine holder in place, the next thing to do is to stain the wine holder. I should have taken it off and stained it, but I was a little lazy. It worked out anyway, it just would have been a lot easier if I took it off. With the wine glass holder installed and stained, next thing to do is to polyurethane the whole entire piece. I did brush it on, I put several coats on, and I did sand in between coats. One thing I did that I did not show in the camera is I put a new backboard on. I used a 1/4 inch thick piece of birch plywood. I stained it the same exact way as I did the shelves, using the black stain and then sanding it down and then applying my normal stain. I did attach it using small staples. This is what the piece looks like after I applied my last coat of polyurethane. Next thing to do is let it dry, then I can reassemble the doors. With the doors attached, I'm pretty happy how I was able to match the stain to the doors. I'm really happy on how the whole entire piece turned out. Here's another look with the doors open. And if you look inside, I did leave the sticker for the original TV cabinet. I thought it was important to keep something from the original cabinet. Next thing I did was deliver the piece to my client. My client was extremely happy with how everything turned out. So there you have it. This ended up being a really fun project. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have not already, please like the channel and subscribe. I'll see you on the next video.